Get the link for you. Yeah, this week is going to be interesting. We saw the SPY coming up, and now we're getting a taste, I think, of a more realistic market, and we are seeing the same chop and volatility that we once did before. Let me make sure I get this link out to everybody. I'm going to get you guys on here so you can see the full stream. I'm going to go ahead and share it in the chat here. If you guys would be so kind, Nikki, Duck, to share it out to everybody, make sure they get on in there. We're going to move the stream over to YouTube just to make sure that everyone has the chance to see it, because we had a lot of issues last time on Discord. So I want to make sure everybody's on there. So we're going to go ahead and move it over there. I'll be here for just another second. I just want to make sure everybody gets in. Let me go ahead and click that. All right, just wanted to get this out there so everybody's got it. If you got a second, get out. I would love it if you guys really. I highly suggest you get a notebook, get something, some ability to take notes as we're going through these charts and we're really diving into everything that's going on. I want to make sure you guys are able to follow along and have all of this stuff at your fingertips all month long, because as we go through, especially on these long-term swings, I want to make sure that everybody has this stuff mapped out on their charts so that you guys can take the best trades possible to make the most amount of money and the most effective means necessary and the least amount of time. Because at the end of the day, I don't want you sitting here for 13 hours a day staring at charts. So if you're not on the YouTube stream, feel free to jump on there. That's where we're going to be hosting it tonight, just because last time we ran into some issues with everybody getting on. I want to make sure you guys all see this. We have some huge trades coming up. We are going to rip through the SPY, figure out exactly where it's going. We're going to map out a couple of the options trades that I think are going to look really good into these coming weeks. And from there, we're pretty much just going to continue to crush it. As you've seen on the stream, we've been banging out 100% runners from the plays that we found on here. I'm going to go through my swing scanner and screener, and we are going to find a couple of swing trading plays that will really make sense for people trading with smaller portfolios, so that you could still see the kind of crazy gains you see across the board, but in a little bit more reasonable fashion. And again, if you don't have $20,000 in your account, I totally understand. I want to make sure that we still got something that's going to make you some money. Once again, if you're new here and you don't know who we are, don't buy. I don't want you to buy anything. No one's asking you to buy anything. I want you to make some money. I want you to stick around. We offer everything for free. Our goal here is education. We want people to understand and trade successfully, because at the end of the day, that's the biggest problem with this day and age, is that there's too much information. So it's very difficult to know what's good information and what's not. So as we get into this, guys, we really, really, really want to be disciplined. As you guys all know, if you don't know, it's discipline is everything. The nature of investing is managing risk. Honestly, the most essential component to trading successfully over the long term is staying in the game. As you guys have heard me say it a million times over, if you can't stay in the game, you have nothing to do here. The longer you're in the game, the more you're going to start to see that compounding return. That is what everybody wants at the end of the day. It's what everybody craves at the end of the day. You're only here because you want to make some money. You're not here to mess around and waste your time. You're here because you're ready for your life to change, and you're ready to use this to do that. And if you're going to use this to do that, then it's time to take it seriously. No more YOLO bullshit. No more, I'm just going to run in because everybody on social media is talking about it. That's how you lose money and end up being one of those schmucks that lost everything. I don't want to see any of you do that. And it doesn't have to be you. So we are going to blast in. We got a couple of questions here about ZOM. We're going to go into that. John, Meta Matt, Mr. Spare Change, Devastator, Swinging Bull, John again. I'm really glad to see you guys. I'm glad you're here. If you're from the Discord, drop your Discord username. I'd love to see you on here, just because I don't know what your name is on YouTube, though I know I'm talking to. That would be awesome. If you found us on Facebook, welcome. You are going to get a couple of phenomenal trade ideas that I think will make you a good bit of money. You're going to get some trading education so that you better understand trading options. And most importantly, you're going to have fun while you do it, which is the most important part, isn't it, at the end of the day? Because if we can't have fun doing it, what in the hell is the point? It's at least how I feel. And I hope that you guys are having fun doing this. Feel free also to share in the chat your wins for the week, wins for the day. I really love seeing that. I love seeing you guys succeed, and I love seeing what worked and what didn't work. That's always extremely helpful, guys, if you can share that with us so that we know To go. Make sure we get this link out there. Everybody sees it. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, we got some people finally flowing in here. Once again, sorry to be repetitive. We're going to go through at least two options trades that are going to make you some money this week. We are going to recap the two trades we're already in, those long-term ones that we're going to go through every week, mapping out the price targets, mapping out where we want to be in the position and whether or not it's smart to take a position at this time. We're going to go through some beginner's option strategies I think make the most sense for people that don't have a lot of knowledge or experience in that area. And we're going to probably give some stuff away too. So if you're new, I would definitely hang out because you're going to get some free stuff. If you've been here, you also are going to get some free stuff, and you're just going to get the normal stuff because that's the good stuff, and you know it, and I know it, and we all understand. So, like I said, drop your name in the chat so we know who you are. We're going to get into it here in just like 2 seconds. I want to just give everybody a minute to come in. We got to push these posts out, get the social media monkey churning, and make sure that everybody has a chance to get in here, which is important. So last time we had a little bit of issues, which I love you guys. You broke it. You broke Discord. We had too many people that wanted to be in here, which is absolutely awesome. I really think that you guys are going to see in 2023 a different market. I think you're going to see a totally different trading style emerge out of the market. I mean, we're in really uncharted territory, and I think that's very important to take a step back and remember, because at the end of the day, guys, no one has traded in a market like this. War, record inflation, contested presidential elections, a nation, a global pandemic, the list goes on. So nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, has a full understanding of how to trade this market in totality, and that's fine. But we have already built a few strategies that have been extremely effective, as you guys have seen, that have made us money through all of last year and will make us even more into this year. I think that this market right now is one of the most exciting that I've seen in a while. Not only because nobody knows what's going to happen, but because it's just there's so much volatility. So if you're trading options, right, like that's what you want. You need volatility. If you don't have volatility, there's no point in trading options unless you're an options seller, right? But most of your active options traders, you want to buy, sell, long, short, et cetera, et cetera. You want to make money trading options in short-term increments, right? That's the move. You can make a ton of money. I mean, it's unbelievable how quickly you can make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 in a day with minimal experience, right? As long as you manage risk effectively. And you couldn't just the market 10 years ago was not like this. You couldn't see those same kind of ridiculous gains in as many areas as you could see now. They existed, but not like they do now, where this is just absolute insanity. Anything from small caps to big tech. Look at what happened with Meta the other day, right? We crushed that. We made a ton of money there. Unbelievable volatility, which gives options trading, in my opinion, the absolute most leverage and the most benefit to anyone trading. If you're not trading options, you absolutely need to, because of the volatility that we've been experiencing and just the price action that you can get and the returns you could see. So stock moves $4 or $5 in price. Those options can move 100%, right? Depending on the nature of the volatility, the Greeks, etc. So this is something that absolutely everyone should do, or at least have exposure to. If you're brand new, take it slow. I get it. Trade stocks slow and steady. Keep it simple. Do that effectively, and then start talking about options. But you should at the very least start the education now, because in 90 days you should have a grasp on what options are and how you can trade them. And once you do, you have opened yourself up to an entirely new world that, in my opinion, it's unfathomable. I mean, like I said, the amount of money that you can make in such a short period of time, guys, it's astounding to say the least. And I really, really, really hope that you guys are following along. You're mapping out the charts. I'm trying to give you the secret sauce here. I'm trying to give you the whole roadmap, everything you need to know to be good at this, to be effective at this, to do this with success, right? That's absolutely what you need to accomplish out of this. You're going to get the charts, you're going to get the technical analysis, you're going to get everything you need, but you got to document it. You got to stay up to date with it. You got to make sure you have it mapped out, because when the SPY's hitting these price levels that we just worked through, right? And we're telling you, hey, we're looking at support zone here, and then you decide to buy puts, and then you're like, oh my God, I lost again, man. That's avoidable. That loss is avoidable. And we need to be rigidly honest with ourselves to be able to come to that conclusion, like, oh shit, that didn't need to happen, right? It didn't need to happen. but it happened. Now, what can I learn from it? Because to be an options trader, you have to be consistent. If you're consistent, you're making a ton of money, a ton of money. And for those of you that have been here a while and you've learned options here, like, please share your experience in the chat. Like, I'm not saying good, I'm saying good, bad, otherwise, whatever. Share what your experience has been so far. I mean, is what I'm saying true in what you've experienced? Because as I've traded options, I mean, as I've talked about it many times, that Zoom trade lost $38,000 in a matter of minutes because I was being an idiot. I was chasing. I was desperate. I didn't follow my plan. I didn't trade it effectively, and I continued to add even though the play was beat, right? So if I've identified like a support level, for example, and then I bought puts at that support level, I'm then punching myself in the face and then blaming everyone else. Like, that doesn't make any sense. The reality is I got greedy, right? And then I got scared. And that's what I want everyone to be able to do is not only know the price levels that we're going to go through with all these charts, but to also take a second to step back and look at themselves and say, like, how many times have I been greedy? How many times have I been fearful? And how much has that impacted my ability to make a decision that will actually make my wallet fatter? Because at the end of the day, that's all anybody wants here, right? Is a plump wallet. I want to sit down and get back problems because that thing makes my hips so uneven because that wallet's so fat. And that's what I want for everybody else. So it's about time. Let's get into it. Getting on the Webull chart here. We've got the SPY pulled up. We are going to dive through the SPY. We're going to map this out. We're going to look at what options make sense for this week. We're going to map out our weekly and intraday targets that we can look at. And then at the very end, the icing on the cake, we're going to take a look at a couple of swing opportunities to see where and when it makes sense to get in on them. I want to make sure that we have this all mapped out. Again, I hope you're taking notes because there's going to be some extremely beneficial information shared here that you need to be able to refer back to later in time. I don't want you to have to come back and watch a stream again. I want you to look at your chart and know, okay, this is what we're looking at for a little bit of bullish support forming here. And then we look for a rebound, a retest, et cetera, et cetera. So for those of you trading options, welcome. Let's get into it. So we've got the SPY here, right? We had a couple unbelievable days. We've traded this one perfectly. So I have not added anything to my chart. These are the same lines that were on there over the last couple of months. If you look, we were spot on in identifying these pivot points, which led to unbelievably profitable trades, one of which being the calls here that went all the way up to 408, exactly as we mapped it out. Came back down. You could have played puts. You bought back at support, even though this was a little bit of a fake right here, right? It held trend support. Let's get rid of these because they don't matter. It held trend support, but what it did not do is it did not hold that demand zone that we had previously identified. Now it came even below that support zone, so I take that back. This was basically a bear trap. They wanted to dip price down, let bears think things were coming down, and then they were just going to pick right back up and shoot it up to 410 plus. It's exactly what happened. So strong support bounce here. Huge volume came in. We closed. We finished pushing up to about 418.31, and that was back on the second. And then we saw a sell-off. Right after another push back up, we saw a sell-off. Now, the question is what are we expecting next? What are we expecting to happen? And what can we really anticipate from this point forward? And here's the answer. Wait and see. Because right now, there's just not enough to tell me that this is coming down. But to be honest, I haven't been sold on the idea that it's going to continue upward. Right? So we had this upward channel forming here, and we pushed against, pulled down, pushed against, pulled down, and then we broke above, right? So realistically, what I'd like to see on this chart is I'd like to see a support test here. So we've got this support drawn right around here, so that would put it about 408 to 410. We'd like to see this come down, support test right here. And guys, this is what I want you to take notes on. Mark this on your chart, make a note, pay attention. This is important. You need to know it. This is going to give you the ability to trade this to maximum effectiveness. If it doesn't hold at 410, 411, right? A strong rebound in the morning, I would say that's a hold. And then we watch through midday. Does it test resistance again? Because that's what we want to be very, very, very careful about. Do we see another repeat of this right here, guys, right? Where you get a little push, sell off, resistance test, and then it dumps. Don't get caught in the middle of that. I'm not touching anything unless we're buying here or up here. So I'm buying calls. I'm trading calls right here. If we're trading up along the support line, we're trading puts if we're back up here. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? We do not want to be caught in no man's land trading in the in-between. It's not good business. Trust me. It's not where you want to be. So we want to see if this pushes up. Weak move in the morning, comes down. I'm going to draw this for you because that'll be easier, I realize, for you to see. So we're going to watch this come up, test, support, possibly test resistance. And if we fail there, that's when I think we come down here and hold, right? So what we want to watch for in the morning is a short-term pump, right? Everybody thinks going up, going up, going up, going up, comes down, consolidates a little, possibly tests that resistance, sells off, comes back down to support. We'll see how the chart pans out. Our other option, right? This is option number 2, because there's always 2 outcomes, right? It's never just one. If we think there is, then we're just being ignorant. Let me change the color to something more green. Okay. So this is option 2, right? I think we get a little short-term move in the morning. If we come up here, we have a chance to go up, right? So this is our resistance, our active resistance that we're trading against right now. Very important right here. We want to look to see if there's going to be a big pop in the morning, touch resistance. Basically, this is your important line you need to mark, right? That's our resistance that's going to give us the idea as to whether or not this is going up or down for the day. We want to watch this line more than anything else because it's our pivot point intraday, right? Meaning, are we going to have a bullish day, bearish day, or neutral day? We need to know the answer to that question. We are only going to know the answer to that question once we see how the price reacts with that line. When we do, we're golden because we've already mapped out our 2 opportunities, right? It's coming down to support right here, at which point swinging some calls I don't think would be a bad idea. And if we're swinging calls down here, we're at about 408, 409. I realistically would like something around 413, 414, 2 weeks expiration at least. If we come below this support right here, I'm not touching anything. We're just going to wait and we're going to watch how the next day shapes up, right? So this is the 6th and the 7th we're talking about. If we can shore up that support down there, I would say we're in a pretty safe position to swing. If we cannot, then we're in a very, very, very different market, different position that we really can't map out at this time. It's either going to crater to oblivion or it's going to kind of dick around right here and build support. Now, we did have substantial volume come in at open the other day, right? And substantial volume coming in through the end of the day back on the 1st of February. That's important because if we continue, that's what I would say is our most bullish scenario for this. Like this is like maximum bullish opportunity is strong buying momentum into the morning. We test that resistance and we break through. This thing can just continue to keep up, much like it did all the way through here before it came back down. I think we could see a nice stair step going through the day, like something like this. I think that if we get strong morning volume, we could see a day like this where it pushes up, comes down, consolidates, then tests higher, comes down, consolidates, basically just below the original high of that first big candle, right? We're on the hourly chart. So it would consolidate just around the top of that first hourly candle that came in on strong volume. That's like my number 1 point to watch, in my opinion, for the SPY tomorrow. So keep a close eye on that. We've got our channel here. Very likely that we come back down, test the bottom of this channel. We shore up, build some support, and then we have the opportunity to blast back up to 419, 423. I think that if we can hold that support and buyers continue to come in with strength and we don't get sort of any sort of terrifying economic news, I very much so think that we might have a short-term bullish case on our hands. Now, to zoom out, because I say that I say that conditionally, right? It's never just this or never just that. You want to have a good broad strokes idea of the entire market while you're taking these trades. So that way you don't take a longer term trade that was maybe a little more expensive or hold a position a bit too long. Has anybody done that? Raise your hand. Type in that chat. Have you ever hold a position just a little bit too long? Just one day too much and you shrank all your gains? Say you're up like 200% on an options contract. Then all of a sudden you held just one day too long. And then what happened? Came back down. You're still up 40%, but you gave away an unbelievable gain. You gave away an unbelievable gain. Why do that? You don't want to do that. I've done it. You've done it. We've all done it. Let's avoid it. Let's avoid it together. Okay? Because we don't have to do that. And I'm going to show you exactly how. When we're mapping out these trades, right? Because with options, remember, we always have to be considerate of the expiration, right? It's the difference between stocks and options. You hold a stock 15 years later, it could come back and run 800% and you made your money. Options expire. And depending on the expiration of the options you bought, you have a limited amount of time. So let's say we are talking about, for example, an options contract with 2 weeks until expiration, right? So at that point, the theta, and again, guys, if you don't know what any of these terms are, that's okay. I want you to keep watching. I'm going to have somebody from our team post a link to some of our introductory option stuff for you guys. I think we have some on YouTube Shorts. We have some on the YouTube channel. We have a bunch within the Discord. I don't know if Duck's on here, but if somebody, Duck, Nikki, somebody could please post those, I'd appreciate it. So we're going to get you those. If you're new to options, honestly, if you haven't been trading more options more than 3 years, they're great to watch. It's a great introductory lesson. It might catch up something you didn't know. Bada bing, bada boom, you educated. Let's get you educated. So anyway, when you're trading with options that are going to expire in, say, 2 weeks, right? You want to have a good idea as to what the market is likely to do, or at least what you're going to do, depending on what the market does over the next week. And you want to have an exit date in mind. So when you're trading the longer term stuff, like say it's 6 months out or a year out, you don't want to sell and close the contract. What you want to do is exactly what we did with Netflix, which was one of our better trades. We're going to go ahead and look at this because this is unbelievable. We're up. So congratulations, guys, if you took this. This one was alerted. Remember, this was at about 190 bucks. We're saying break above 200. We're buyers. We did. We bought again at 245, and now we're at 365. You're up at the very minimum 120, $140 a share. Absolutely phenomenal trade. The options contracts are up like 60, 70%. Total 110% if you took the short. So here's how we played Netflix, and here's something to keep in mind, especially if you're new to trading options. We bought our long calls right here, okay? Ran up, came down, started to test resistance. So on this candle right here, if you can see this right here is a weekly candle. We started to see really bearish action. It was struggling to hold there. What do? We turned that just naked long option into a vertical debit spread by selling the call directly above it. We were already up 30 to 50% on the long call. So we're basically just securing the bag. We're securing the profits without selling the contract, which is a beautiful thing. No capital gains, no taxable event. And you can maintain the position until it comes back down, at which point we buy back the short for less than we sold it for. Our long is basically at the same price, right? But we've made money on the downward volatility. So you make money both ways. That's the goal. And that one we have traded exceptionally well. We use that strategy right there. That's a phenomenal beginner strategy. You buy, say, like on quality companies that you know are going to rebound, you buy like a reasonable leap, which means a year or more of expiration on it. It's a little more expensive, but it's worth doing. And you simply add the vertical debit spread on top. You add the short so that you can make some money on the downside. So when we're trading these longer term options, right, we want to have a good idea of what's going to happen over the next week as well as the next month so that we don't hold on to that option a bit too long. And this applies to stocks too. So if you're not interested in options, that's fine. Same application. When something's running like this, you have to hedge your risk in some way. If you own 100 shares, you can sell a call, which is phenomenal because you're going to collect your premium there. If you're trading options, all you have to do is sell the strike directly above. You have to open up a vertical debit spread. Very simple. But on the SPY, this is what's getting me so excited about these potential bullish options. That look at this volume on the weekly. It's picking up here, and it's rather substantial. And as we mentioned on previous streams, I want to see it about 500 million plus. That's when I started to become a little more comfortable with this. We get another candle on this week, right? Coming to about 500 to 550 million plus. If we see that, we're money, and I think we could see a strong move up. Our other option here, guys, is that this is the world's biggest bull trap, and the market's going to absolutely crater within the next week or two. So I want everyone to keep that in mind when we trade these. Absolutely and emphatically keep that in mind, because you need to know that. You need to be willing to accept that, because it's very possible. We're going to trade this the best we can. We're going to make a good bit of money, but we're not going to get caught. We're not going to get caught and then beaten to death. We're just not. So for the next couple weeks, SPY is interesting. We really need to see how this next week shapes up. Remember, we identified the ranges here. We walked through range 3. We've got our range 4 right there. That's where we're moving in right now. We're at the very bottom as we mapped it out, just above 412. Top of that range being, sorry, this is too compressed. Top of that range being just about 419. That's what we want to see next. So if it stays in that range, it continues to move up, we're going to see a strong move up to 419. If it can't hold there, then we're more than likely going to retrace back down to our base, which is about 400 bucks at the bottom of range 3. But if we see that happen, we could be looking at a totally different chart. And then I would say that the case for a absolute bull trap is in. I would argue that there's a very high likelihood that the market is ready to pump fake and dip down to nothingness. They talk about recession. Money gets ridiculous. People lose their jobs. It's absolutely miserable. And the rich get richer. And that's typically how they do it. But not to us, not this time. If you're watching this, you're one of the lucky ones. You're not going to get caught in that same cycle. You're going to trade that downward volatility. You're going to make yourself some money on the downside, just like Wall Street does every damn day, except you're not going to make it off the backs of yourselves. You're going to make it off their backs. And it's going to be a wonderful thing. So as we watch SPY, and tomorrow, again, watch weekly. Make a note of that. 550 volume, 550 million shares. That's what we want to see close this week out. We want to see a strong buy-side candle coming in here above average. I would like to see about 520 to 550 million shares traded, right? Because as we always talk about, what? Volume always precedes a change in what? Come on, volume always precedes a change in what? Oh, wait. Volume always precedes a change in what? When we see volume, what happens next? A change in price. That's the answer. Write this out. A change in volume always precedes a change in price. That's the ticket. Always, always, always remember that. All right. So, got that mapped out. We've had a few discussions about the SPY. Let's go ahead and take a second here. Let's do a quick check-in. How did everybody do this week? Red or green? Let's see it. Red or green? Let's see if we can create a poll here. That would be ideal. Just go ahead and type it in the chat. Just hit a comment. Red or green? That's all you got to do is type it out. Red or green? I want to see how everybody did. Here we go. All right, let's see it. Keep hitting it in there. Red or green? Red or green? How'd you do this week? For those of you that were red, let's hear from you first. What did it? Was it one trade or was it overall market performance? Tell the truth. Robert said, right. Beautiful. Well, I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad the only trade you took was from us and it made you money. Maybe that's a sign. Nah, man, you weren't stupid. You just didn't know. That's one thing, guys. Like it's important. It's very important. I don't think anybody ever does anything out of stupidity. I think it's more, I would say, ignorance or lack of education or lack of understanding or lack of insight. Because that's what I've always noticed about people that do well in this. Don't look at money the same way as most people. They look at money as a tool to get what they want. They look at it as a game to play. And they look at it as if there's so much of it, there's no reason to ever desperately desire it. And I would argue that that is probably, in my experience, the best way I've ever looked at money, right? There is more than enough of it. There always has been. The difference is how to get your hands on some more of it. It's rarely ever given. Rarely ever given. It's got to be earned. So that's what I would challenge all of you to take a second. How in the hell am I going to earn it? That's the question to ask yourself. I want more of it. How do I earn it? How do I get in it? Because at the end of the day, that's the only question that's ever going to give you an answer that will help you. It's going to give you a true answer. There's so much money in the world. Look, shit, our government just prints it all the time. So it's floating around in the United States, at least. It's floating around everywhere. And rather than ask ourselves the question, why don't I have it? Poor me, poor me, poor me. What am I going to do to earn it? And how far am I willing to go to earn it? What am I willing to do to earn it? And if you can answer that question, then you can start. I think you can really get in. I mean, there's a phenomenal quote I was watching this thing. It's actually Denzel Washington. Was talking about how passion is great and it's awesome and all that stuff's great and commitment's great and it starts you out. It's a great start. But what then? And he's basically just saying that consistency and discipline, that's how you finish the game. That's how you win. And I think that they put that perfectly because I look at every business, I look at all the trades, I look at everything I've ever done, right? All I have is my own experience. I can't tell you anything else, otherwise it'd be bullshit. And my experience is every time I've done things out of a place of like, shit, it's not enough. I need more, I need more, I need more. I always end up needing more. Whereas the best things I've done, the best trades I've taken were a quick insight, some discipline, right? Not an unreasonable amount of time. But I told myself the truth about what I saw. And when I told myself the truth about what I saw, I was able to operate efficiently and take the right trade, do the right thing. But I look at my whole life in general. When I was willing to be honest with myself about the circumstances I was facing, I could actually do something to help myself. I mean, a lot of you know my story, but it's, I was living in a totally different place 6 years ago. I had nobody, I had nothing. And I did not like the way I was living, not one bit. But it wasn't until I was willing to actually acknowledge that out loud that I hated the way that I was. I hated the things I was doing. I hated that I had no prospects, that I had no opportunity. I hated it. And someone just asked me, well, what are you willing to do? And that was it. Because my answer was whatever it takes. And if you have a goal in mind, if you have a dream in mind, if you have something in mind that you want for yourself, you need to ask yourself that question of what's it going to take to get it? And what are you willing to do? Because sometimes what it takes isn't what you're willing to do. But that's the beauty of what we're doing here, right? This is trading. This is simple. This is simple. All you really have to be willing to do is go through a couple classes, hang out for an hour or two here and there, chat with some people, spend an hour here with us right now, and then be willing to tell yourself no. When you see all these people talking about AMC and all this bullshit, and you want to buy more, you want to do this, when you hear that, all you have to do is say no. I think parents can become much better traders because they learn how to say no by learning how to have to tell their kids no. If you're a pushover as a parent, you're probably not going to be a very good trader. I'll also tell you that very simple truth right now. But if you're willing to tell yourself no, then you'll be great at this because you can build a simple template of how you do it every time that applies to all areas of your life. That's the beauty. You take this with you. It'll improve your relationships. It'll improve your happiness. It'll improve your health. It'll improve everything. Because it's just simply a way of being. I think that's what set us apart, what's made us different than any other group, any other service, any other company is that like this, we realize the truth that this is about who you are as a person more than anything else. And that there are some fundamental truths you have to be very honest with yourself about before you're ever going to be successful with this. I get asked to do these business things all the time where they're like trying to, hey, let's build this course and like help people start a business. And like, I don't, because I don't believe everyone can do it. Not because they can't do it, because I don't believe that there are enough people that genuinely believe it's possible for themselves to do it. So if you're sitting here and you're hopeful, but there's not a part of you that can actually see yourself sitting here with a $50,000 profit in your account, you will never get there. You just won't. I want you to, but I'm not going to mislead you either. But if a little teeny part of you can see that, that's all it takes. Only a tiny little piece of you has to see that. And that's it. There was a tiny little part of me 6 years ago that said, "Hey, maybe you don't have to suck so much." And that's all it took. That's all I needed to propel myself forward and start moving at fucking lightning speed to change my life, which I did. Everything got better. Everything. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world now. And like, how does that apply to trading? Well, shit. If I can't tell myself no, if I can't find a way to motivate myself when I don't feel good, then I'm going to suck at this. Because if a stock's running and I missed it and I'm not feeling very good about myself, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to do what every other non-experienced trader who gets beat to death by Wall Street does. I'm going to chase that stock and hope that I can capture just a little bit, or make an alternative investment that was not smart because I think it's going to run because this ran. Basically, I will live in fantasy land for 2 weeks and take all these trades based on fantasy information I got from fantasy land and hope that it all works out. Now, here's the problem. If I make a fantasy trade in my fantasy world with fantasy information, but with real money, that means there's a real consequence to that. And I know a lot of people treat this like gambling, like a slot machine. That's fine. But this is a game you can win all the time. And it may not seem like much, but $50 a day, $100 a day, it adds up. It really adds up. And if you want to put yourself in a position where you go buy a new TV for $3,000 and you don't even think about it, you don't even worry about it, you don't ask your husband or your wife, or you don't have to ask permission, you just go do it, and you're not worried about it, and it's a sensible decision because you can easily afford it. You don't have to finance everything all the time anymore. Imagine what your life would be like then. You have to be able to see what your life would be like then to get yourself in a position to do it. Because if you don't, and I'll say this and shut my mouth and we'll go into the charts, but if you don't genuinely give yourself a chance to see that life, then I promise you, subconsciously, you will miss every opportunity that's put in front of you, handpicked and placed in front of you to actually achieve it. Because if your mind is thinking, well, shit, we don't believe this is possible, there's no reason paying attention to that. It's not woo woo. It's not anything other than like, it's simplicity. If my subconscious doesn't believe I'll ever get it, then it's not going to alert me to things that might help me to get there. Does that make sense? Which means if I don't believe it's possible, truly, I'm not going to see the roads I need to take to actually make it possible. You have to see those roads. But in order to do that, you have to actually see yourself in that light. So I say that to you, my friend. I think it's Robert. So before you should call yourself stupid, which you're not, and you shouldn't call yourself that, give yourself a break, man. You're here, you're learning. That bad trade that you're looking at that killed you, that's making you feel stupid, it's probably going to be the best thing that ever happens to you if you turn it around right now. And there's no reason you can't. That could be the defining moment that changes your capability to do this successfully. And then once you do it successfully and you're sitting here with 50 grand or 100 grand or whatever it is, you'll be saying, thank God I lost all that money. And thank God I found this place. And thank God it worked out this way. Because that's what I do. I look back at every element of my life that I've considered extremely painful, that I thought sucked. And I realized that the world is not happening to me. I am happening to it. And those moments made everything worth it. So give yourself a break. Because you deserve it, whether you want to believe it or not. And let me pull these up. So now we're going to get into our two trades that we've been following along that are absolutely exploding right now. Let's take a quick second here. Sorry, I'm just trying to find this link here. Someone was DMing me. They couldn't get in. That's because they were in the wrong place. Mhm. If you guys want to go ahead and drop your tickers now, if there's any specific tickers charts you wanted to take a look at, feel free to drop those there. I wanted to cover a few of those towards the end, but if you wanted to get them out there now, feel free. Um, I just want to make sure we get that said so that I don't forget. And then I couldn't find that there, so. And where's that? That's what I need. Sorry, I'm trying to look this up. I made a nice little watch list for us to go over. I wanted to make sure I get all of them on here. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. All right. So we're gonna finish up the spy, and then we're gonna keep it moving. So, I guess in closing, those are our two opportunities and our two outcomes there, guys. We're gonna push to 419 if we can continue with momentum through this week, or we're gonna come back down to $400. I think that's really our only two outcomes here. I don't think we're gonna push higher to the 420s unless we get some sort of crazy economic news that truly changes everything. And I don't think that we're going to really go below 400 unless we also get some really bad economic news that really changes the landscape here. I don't think that's going to happen. So that's okay. But that's the weekly. We're going back to the hourly again. Just to quickly recap our watch for the morning. Very important. We're looking for a strong push up at open. We want to see what happens when we test this resistance. If we break above it, I would say that 417 calls would absolutely make sense. Capture a nice $3 move for a quick intraday trade, make a good bit of money. Comes back down here off support. We buy, I would say, I'm going to watch this one, not before we say go out and put an alert on. I think this is more of a watch list item if we hit support here because we really just want to watch and be careful and make sure that we're not going to enter bear territory and really come back down. So that's our scenarios for that. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, it does, my friend. Oh, Amy says bingo. I'm absolutely interested in that. Oh, there we go. So this is more for those of you that are in the stock swing game, and there's also, I believe this does have an options chain, but this is really what I'd be watching for resistance. We could see a nice move there. So that was our past support moving up here, and now we're stuck in this kind of no man's land. Remember, this thing is kind of a fall from grace. Very interesting company. Very, very, very interesting. One of my personal favorites as far as small cap speculative goes. I have this in my long term portfolio. I really think it's smart. Um, I think it's smart to have some at the very least. And I think buying at these levels is a no brainer. Again, remember, we had first alerted this one at 30 cents. It ran to 15, $16. We made a killing, came back down. I bought some more around $2, which that's down a little bit. We're at 187. And then it ran to 462. I think that should we see a little more substantial volume coming here, this one's going to make sense as far as a swing position. I am going to continue buying this below $2, and as long as it doesn't come below, I'd say 130, 140, we should be fine. Again, this is a set it and forget it. I'm not paying attention to this for 10 years type of play for me. So keep that in mind when you take this into your strategy and take this into consideration within your context of your strategy to understand really how does it fit in your portfolio and is this something I could throw 50 bucks, 100 bucks, 1,000 bucks, 10 grand, whatever, and not look at it again. That's the question I would ask yourself because it is highly speculative, but I do like it. So that's a good one. I'm glad Amy brought that one up. We got easily room to 270. So for those of you that want to swing this, in my opinion, this is an easy peasy position trade, right? So we talk about adding right around here, 185, 186, with a hard stop below 170, right? But our reward on this is going to be 245. So basically we're willing to risk 12 cents to make 50 cents. We're willing to risk a dollar to make 5, right? That's smart, in my opinion. That's a smart trade. It's 1 to 5. You're willing to risk 1 to make 5. That's a good trade. It all comes down to that risk reward ratio, guys. That's what matters more than anything else. If you don't have one, you don't know what yours is, you're making a critical mistake that is going to absolutely destroy you in the long term. You have to get in there. So what the hell? So where did Weeble go? Okay, so that one's BNGO. That's our small cap watch list item. That one's you got your price targets right there. I hope you really did match that up and write that down. Go through IBM, AirQQ. God, what is Kathy Wood up to? How much has she been destroyed lately? Oh, that's a different company. That's not one of the ARCs. Ooh, that's a chart I like. That's not bad. That's not bad. You got a decent bit of room there, right? I don't know anything about this company though. Somebody wants to give me a quick run through on AR. Was it ARQQ? I don't know anything about this company. I don't know what they're about, but I do like this chart. This is giving me it's giving me a very delicate feeling, very tender feeling that I very much so enjoy. I love a good. This is on the weekly too, guys. Look at that curl. Look at that nice little curl. Look at that. On the daily, even too, this is looking nice. I could see this one having a nice 3-day bing bang boom done move. 362. We got a lot of room here. This one's interesting. I think it's on close watch, strong volume. RSI is still coming out of that deeply oversold. I mean, that was the buy, right? Like $2. That was a good buy. I don't know what the hell this company does. Watching it for months. Quantum Tech sounds interesting or bullshit. I don't know. Could be either or, but very interesting. That's a watch list item. I do, that does bring me interest. It does give me a tender feeling, deep down inside. So I think that one's worth a watch. Let's quickly go into our 2 plays that we've been watching. We're going to continue to update. Affirm, as we discussed last week, made you some money if you've been trading this one already. We talked about that critical resistance right there and that we needed to see that break. Sure enough, you saw that break up to $22, absolutely exploded. Now it's coming down, more than likely going to continue to tread along this descending resistance here. I think it's going to come down, trickle, and then we might see a little bit of consolidation and then pick up before we eventually go. I think that is more than likely our outcome that we're going to see. I think that's what's going to happen here. If it continues to push up higher, then I think very much so we fill this gap to 29. I think we have a lot of upside here, especially since we broke that resistance. I'd love to see a retest of $41. That's about 100% plus from here. Again, we talked about this when I'm down a lot. I added all the way down to about $9. Got beat up pretty bad on it, but I do still think there's a ton of potential here. I think the buy now, pay later, as much as I hate it as a business, like spiritually, ethically, mentally, emotionally, and every other way, I think it's a great business, and I think people are going to really use it. I think they already are. You see all that nonsense about the Beyonce tickets, right? Like everyone's talking about, oh, Klarna and Affirm and just pay buy now, pay later because they're charging these egregious prices that I would never, ever pay, ever in a million fucking years. You ain't going to get me to pay those prices. That's crazy. And sadly, the people that get to pay those prices are typically people that can't afford those prices. So that's the irony here. So I think that makes the buy now, pay later even more attractive as an investor. As you saw, that's huge volume coming in on the daily, and the weekly looking even better. It hasn't fully broken, held above here, but we do have our runway above 22. I'd love to see this one price in another high, and I'd love to see it test $38. Then when I'm going to start to feel real confident. But our big struggle, I think, is going to be crossing this zone right here, which is about $46. Once we break above 46 and we can keep it rolling, keep it moving, we're going to fill this gap to $87. So keep that in mind. That is, I think, a very likely outcome that we could see. And I'm going to run through it again. Just make sure you wrote these down if you didn't. Okay? Make sure you wrote these down. You ready? We've got Affirm. We're looking at the weekly chart. We were right last week talking about this breaking above resistance and a quick run. We nailed that. What do we need to see next? I think our first step is really closing and holding over 20 bucks. We got to see that first. We have to. And then scooting back to the daily chart. If this can continue to hold after it closes this little gap around 18 bucks, right? If it can continue to hold up and build support at $18, I think it's very realistic we test 22 again. And if we can beat that, I think we're going to close this gap to 29. If we can beat that, I think we're going to test about 35 bucks. Long term, if we can make it above if we can make it above 52 bucks, it's a very high likelihood. Look at these huge gaps here, guys. Look at the wreckage left behind. Unbelievable, right? Huge gaps up, which basically tells you that when this thing gets strength and gets steam around 50, 60 a share, it can just absolutely explode up to 100 plus, then 108, and then inevitably 176. So what I think is going to happen is if we can break above 50 bucks on volume, people start to feel confident again in the economy and this company. We look for 80 bucks. After we look for $80, we look for 86. If we break that, we're going over 100, baby. And if we break that, then we're in for a ride, right? And like a be all end all target, at least 130. Very much so. If we break above 130, we're going to 200 bucks. Easy. And this thing will find all-time high. This will find all-time high if those things happen. So make sure you've written those down. Make sure those price targets are mapped out on your chart so you can follow this along and make money while we're doing it. Let's look at number 2, PLTR, Palantir. Absolute banger. We've been adding this one below $7. Perfect ad. Absolutely perfect ad on this one. I'm very happy with our position here. I think we really did a good job, and we really nailed that entry on this one. It was perfect. So what we have on the chart here is we dipped to about 584, $6, right? Call it 6 to make it easy. We've been adding just below 7. We got this bearish engulfing here. Remember, we're on the weekly, so this is a longer time frame. Bearish engulfing forming here. The second week it formed, continued to push back up on very strong volume relative to the norm, right? We always talk about when we see double average volume, we're in a good spot. That's what we saw here. Average volume around 120 million. We saw 250 for the week. That is huge, which means that we are probably going to see this push back up to 11. If we get up over 11, guys, then I would say the sky's the limit, because as you can see last time, this thing IPO'd, hung out around 8, 9, 10 bucks, and then it absolutely exploded to 33 bucks. So that's what we want to see here on Palantir. We want to see this push up to about $11. We want to see it move up to 14, and then we can easily see it move back up to 26 plus. They are very cash heavy. This is a great bit. They have a great business. As far as I know, and as far as they just show publicly, they have a phenomenal business, and they have a strong cash flow. They have government contracts. They have everything you could want. It's kind of an easy money play, in my opinion. Those are the two that we're watching very closely. So a few of you also mentioned coins, so we're going to go through that one. Remember, crypto is in a weird spot, right? You have to keep in mind a number of things with crypto, and I would highly suggest that you stay in the loop on crypto news, crypto education, and everything else by making sure you join Titan. If you're not in yet, make sure you join there. We got Bitcoin Jay over there, number one crypto trader in the world. He won the national championship crypto title in 03. I'm just kidding. I just made that up. But he would win it if there was a thing. I really think so. That guy's crazy. He's just like he lives and he technically analyzes like coffee in the morning. He runs technical analysis on it to see how it's doing. The guy's about that life. So if you want to follow any type of trader when it comes to crypto that is deeply plugged in to find out what's going on, it's that guy. So make sure you follow him. Make sure you get in Titan. Make sure you check it out. You can make a lot of leverage gains in there, which is like stupid money. You want to make stupid money that's even more than options, go trade leverage crypto. But anyway, I digress. So on Coinbase here, we've got a couple things happening that I really, really have to see first before I really have more of an interest, right? The base business model, it's good. It's great, right? But crypto is such a volatile asset that it makes me nervous to really think about long term. But if any company is going to do it, if I have to bet my chips on any one company in the crypto space, it's going to be Coinbase, because they're US based, they're regulated. I think they've done the best job at kind of staying ahead of the PR nightmare that is being involved in crypto. And I think that they've done their best to create a user-friendly platform, and I think they're plugged in all the right places. So as legislation sweeps through crypto, which it inevitably will, I think they're going to be at the forefront of that, and I think they're also going to they're going to stand to benefit from that legislation that sweeps through. So as you can see here, this thing's picking up steam. 129 million shares. Volume is about 2/3 average, which is phenomenal. We had some huge selling days up to about 200 million shares. This thing's having a nice little rounded bottom here in the weekly. We're pushing up. We're trying to test about $95. Once this thing gets to about 150, I think it's going to rip and run, and we're going to see it retest 300. I don't think 429 is in the cards for the next couple months, but I do think it's possible in the long run. Just all kind of depends on the overall economy and what we see next. But I really, really like Coinbase as a crypto exposure play. I think it's going to make a lot of money in the long run. It's one I'm actually got my eyes on for a few Leap contracts right alongside PayPal. We absolutely crushed this trade, guys. So we're testing right now in the weekly. We have a very strong weekly chart here. It's actually one of my favorite charts that we have right now that to trade. In my opinion, this is like one of the biggest strength charts I think we're going to see. And I very much like where they're positioned in the crypto space too. And just honestly, like just the financial position they're in, period. So this is testing about $90. We want to see that break above 90, right? And that's when we start investigating our leaps here, right? This is the one we're going to trade together. When we get that break above 90, we're not adding below. We're waiting for the break because we're not going to be stupid. We're not going to be silly. And we're going to push up to $120. We're going to take those 100 calls, maybe 120 if we're being a little sexy about it. And we are going to trade this up into $120. We're going to make an absolute killing. We could even take, honestly, I'm looking at some 200s that might make us make some sense. That would make us even more money should we get the push, right? We are not doing it right now because it's not, the time is not now. We're waiting. We want to see that strong break over 90 with consolidation, just like we saw in this past range here, so that we can see a nice move back up to 120 plus. We haven't seen that confirmation yet. We don't have it. The trade isn't active yet. We're watching. I want you to mark this on your charts. If you see it over 90, I want you to blow up my DMs, and we're going to map this out together. We're going to trade this one together, and we are going to get rich on this trade together. That is my word. NVIDIA, quick hit. Absolutely exceptional trade. We nailed this. You should be up at the minimum 100% on those leaps. We alerted them. They went up over 100% right away. Came back down. Now they're up like 150% to 200%. I know some of you added at the very bottom around $7 a contract. You're up about 400% on these. Their 2024 expiration. This thing's going to keep going. We got bullish engulfing happening here. We have the strongest weekly chart, in my opinion, of almost any in tech because we have this 3 white knight pattern forming here, which means it's 3 fully built candles, no wicks. Price went up and stayed up. Very, very strong chart. Bullish engulfing happening here. Our first thing, really, we just want to see it break above this resistance right here. Remember, this was our previous support. We held it for a long time. The resistance is going to be pretty strong unless we blast through on, honestly, 300 million shares or more. I think we're going to probably have a little bit of struggle with this, and that's when I'm going to take some profit. So we're talking about anywhere from about 240 to 260 on NVIDIA. I think we're realistically going to see over the next couple months. I think they're very well positioned in crypto, cloud computing, and a number of other areas. I think it's one of the best companies you could be invested in to have that exposure to the computer space. Absolutely love it. So, Daryl, I said if coin goes over 90, I want you to bang on my front door and yell at me until we look at some options trades. Oh, sorry, that was for PayPal, buddy. PayPal goes over 90, not Coinbase. That's going to be our next big options leap. I know a lot of you were maybe missed out on NVIDIA and Netflix and some of those other ones. So those are the two that we're eyeing that I think offer us the greatest risk reward potential and can really be a 2-3 bagger at the end of the day. I want to see a 200-300% return. All right. How's everybody doing so far? You following along? Making sense? You getting some value? You getting something out of this? Is it worth your time? I'm glad to be here. I care, but also I don't because I'm going to be here either way. So I just hope you're getting some benefit out of it at the end of the day. Also, if you guys can, make sure you like the video. YouTube's algorithm sucks and it crushes us every time because we're not trading shit coins and AMC. So they just have no interest in showing us to the world. So if you could please make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the like, and drop a share if you can. Very much appreciated. We are going to be picking that winner finally. We remember we said when we get 5,000 subscribers, we're going to give away $500 in Doge. It is still happening. It's just a matter of trying to get the Doge in our hands and figuring out legally how we need to distribute it. So make sure you subscribe so you're on that list. Anybody who adds up until we do it is going to be it's going to be possible. But any shares are greatly appreciated. And if you are a member, do not forget you get paid if you refer a friend to the group. You get paid. You get paid. I'd rather pay you for marketing than pay some asshole to do it. So I think we have it up to $20 right now per referral. So if someone signs up, friends and family, if you think they're going to benefit, which they will, if they're not trading already, this is how you make money in the long term without going back to school or trading 200,000 for a 10-year commitment to an education. This is the only way to make, in my opinion, 6 figures a year plus without ever leaving your job, having time for your family, and doing something you like. So you can go to pbalerts.com/dashboard. When you log in, you'll see your referral link. You just use that link. That's all you do. They sign up through there. Boom, you get paid. They get a discount. You get paid. Everybody wins. So make sure you check that out so that you can get paid. If you're referring people here, I want to make sure you guys get that check. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I want you to get that check. All right. We're going to look at the swing trade scanner here. Let's see if anything weird's coming up here. Let's see if we can make some weird money. Let's get on there. Give me a second. We're going to pull this up. We're going to see what kind of small cap pennies. We're going to see what the hell we got going on here. See if we can make some quick money on these. Ooh. God. This screener is just unbelievable. Oh my God. It's unfathomable. I'll post these in Discord. This is just what it posted for the last week. Average profit percentage 23% for just 1 week of holding these companies. Oh, MVIZ exploded. What the hell's going on here? Let's go to today. So we've got GOEV. I don't like any of these. These all kind of suck. Those all suck. Ape's been on a tear since it was down to what, 63 cents? Absolute insanity. Ultra short. Community Health. That's my stupid hospital. I owe a bunch of money to for my child that was just born. Ooh, Alt. That thing held up. Who remembers this one? This one was a blast. My God, does anybody remember this one? We made like just the most egregious amount of money on this one. Unbelievable. Remember, this one was $2 to 30 in like no time. This is very interesting because this one can move very, very quickly, and this is a pretty decent company. Yep, this one's making the list. This is exceptional. This is what I'm talking about. God bless that screener. This is the weekly too here, guys. Look at that consolidation station going on here. Unbelievable. Oh, I don't even know how this happened. This doesn't even make sense. I wasn't even on the right. I'm getting rid of that. Unbelievable here. So over 855. I think that's it. Honestly, we got 2 or 3 ranges here. This one could be good. This could be a nice, fun trade to take. This one could be good. We could have a winner here. Let's take a quick look. So this is Altimmune. This is a biotech. So this is risky, but this could be fun. RSI holding up about 50. Let's break this into these ranges. I mean, that's pretty much it. So we missed this range here, which was like 9 to 17, right? That one already happened. It came and went. We missed it. And that's fine, and that's okay. 104. So I like this one here. So this is Altimmune. Again, we made a killing on this before. This is a great range trader. As you can see, you could buy at 9 and sell at 17. You could have done that 1, 2, 3, 4 times now, 5 times now in the last couple of years. This is a fun one to take a nice large position on. So what we're going to want to wait for here is a break over that 17, but we got to see it with volume because as you can see here, it has a tendency to pop and then dump. But it does look like it's consolidating and waiting for a larger move here, at which point it'll test 23. This could be a nice 50% banger, possibly more if it goes nuclear to 35. If someone can, anybody, if you see any news on this one, let me know. It's very interesting. I don't know if I don't track the PDUFA stuff like I used to, but that one's very interesting. That one came up on the screener for continuation. And you got this. A couple of these charts are actually looking decent. Interesting. That one's very interesting. Oh, a lot of these came down. A lot of these gold boys, a lot of these energy boys that came down. I want you to keep a close eye on this one. This is not a buy, but I think this one, I feel like this is a pretty explosive chart. Let's take a look here. This could be interesting. It's a shipper. I don't know. Those are a nightmare, but this setup is just, it's too good to look away from. Navos Maritime, NM. This one just popped up on the screener. It's looking kind of sexy here. I'm not going to lie to you. This one is interesting. This setup is just one that really gets the juices flowing, guys. It really makes me feel things. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. I really think we might have something here. Look at that long-term consolidation just into nothingness. Came down. Let's see what was like all-time high. How many reverse splits is this done? Like 800. This is not like a buy and hold. Do not put your life savings in this. Do not treat this like this is going to be the best investment that's going to change your life, because it's really not. But this could be an exceptional trade that could make you a good bit of money in the short term. This one is interesting. We have a number of gaps to fill. So look at this last time. Keep a close eye on this here, right? Look at how it just stair-stepped up last time to about 625. And look at where the spring point was, 210. So now it's also hit 210 and not done that, right? But it's also crossing over here to break out. RSI just pushing up and overbought, which is good. Volume slightly picking up. This one could be interesting on watch. So, like, I would add this to a day trade watch list. I think that this one could be very interesting. But it is a shipper, so keep that in mind, guys, because this could be a terrible occurrence for you. But if you trade it right and you manage your risk, this could be a nice big money play for you. I think if we break over 210, we could easily see 230. But what I'd like to see is retest this $3 mark here. As you can see before, it breaks up over 2-3 days, consolidates, breaks up. But we're looking at a lot different scope of volume here. Okay, we want to see this volume coming in at least 500,000 to 1 million a day. We do not want to see it this low, but that one could be very interesting. Let's go back to this explosive setup screener I built. Blend Labs. I don't know anything about that. Okay, let's look at something else. Where is it? Oh, yes, finally. We were early on this one, like way too early. But absolutely nailing it as AI is picking up. This thing is picking up steam big time. Look at that, 212 million shares. Thank God I saw Lee buying this at like $10 because I added a bunch of it to lower my average, which is still at about, I think about 15.50, $16. So we're green now. This thing's at 25. It absolutely exploded off the floor at 10. We could easily see this thing come back around $50. This is also a great company. Recently went public. Kind of went public at the absolute worst possible time they could have gone public. And as a result, they really shot themselves in the foot. I really think that this is one to watch for the long term. Great company. Again, great cash. I think this company is led by executives that are going to continue to trudge forward, expand through AI, expand all of their systems. They have great vertical. I think this company is going to be absolutely explosive. Absolutely explosive. I'm not talking about NM. Oh my God. I hope I didn't just say all that. And you thought I was talking about NM because I wasn't. Ticker is AI. C3AI Inc. This is a great company. Again, we were talking about it for a long time. I remember I was buying this at 40, $50. We bought it all the way down to 10. My current average is about 15, $16. I'm holding this long term. I want to see at least 43, 44. I think if we can see that long term, we have a chance to go back to 100 over the next 5 to 10 years easily. This is a set it and forget it swing trade to me. Nothing to think about, nothing to talk about. This is going to make good money. And that's what I'm watching it for, and that's what I'm utilizing it for. Very, very, very interesting. I did not even see that pop up on there. I also, for those of you looking for some long-term swings, kind of like long-term, more so investments than trades, like you really want something kind of more consistent, also pays a little bit of a dividend. Um, I think you'll have a lot of luck right now. I think I do like JP Morgan right now. I like this. I like this chart right here. I think that you've got slow and steady consolidation over the last, what is it, 10 to 15 years, that you're not going to see really any crazy volatility on this one. You're just going to see kind of regression to the mean situation. Now we aren't pressing resistance here, right? So that's our past support trend line. But if we can pick up above this, then we're easily going to push back into the 160s, 170s. But again, it does pay a dividend. Really, the danger zone is if it can't hold here, that's when you really have a problem, right? So we've got support building through here. This is the channel I'm watching. We're testing the top of it right now. I do not want to see this come below the support line. And at the end of the day, I don't want to see it below 110, or we're really in a bad spot. But as far as a long-term ad, I think this one makes sense. Sorry. I think this one really makes sense. So that's that. I saw somebody ask about Sunrun like 8 times, so I'll make sure I go over it. Decent chart. These are fun ones to trade. I think this one is actually a decent chart right now. Interesting. So yeah, I mean, you were right. I'm glad you brought this up. Above 2460, hell yeah. That's your pivot just about, I'd say. Top range, bottom range. Keep it above $24, and I think you're good to go. It's actually not a bad entry. It's like low risk, ridiculously high reward. I would say it's a quality one to look at. I think you're going to easily retest $60 once this gets some favorable news. Volume is exceptional. I would say that's like your best seller right here, is that this is absolutely being scooped up. I would love to see the institutional interest on this one. I'm going to go ahead and treat myself to that right now. Take a look. Insiders have recently been selling 92% institutionally owned. Okay. Yep. We're on to something there. My problem is the PE. So it's like price target around 35, $40. So they're saying it's like fair, almost fair value right now. At the very least, you have some upside. I do like this on the weekly, though. I think the weekly chart looks pretty quality. The daily does not. You got to really break above 29 or this thing's going to come back down. But if it does stay up above 24, I think it does make sense. I really do. I think it actually looks pretty good. Who's he asking about this? Oh, yeah. I can't believe this thing took as much of a beating as it did. I really think the Nasdaq, like we really have like an opportunity right now. I just need to see this. It's like 11.5, in my opinion. If that doesn't hold, then yeah, I think we're gonna see kind of cataclysm, right? Like 11,000, obviously mental price point. And it's kind of the pivot, in my opinion. So if we go to the weekly, I mean, that's kind of the pivot point, I think, of whether this turns like blood ugly or this becomes, a difficult journey for us all to be on. And that's ironically where we really started to push this breakout. I think with the SQQs, with the NASDAQ, sorry, not the SQQs, not the short ultra shares. But I think with the NASDAQ, like the real problem is like we didn't even really consolidate these highs from back here. We just had this thin volume push up to 16,000, which I've never really been a fan of because we entered a little bit of price discovery, but on like diminishing volume, which is, in my opinion, never a favorable sign. And I think what it does is it really kind of tricks people into thinking, well, shit, we're going to go right back up to there. Well, really, we don't know, but that can go either way. I think that means that price discovery on significant volume relative to like right here when we really saw strength. That's why I don't think like realistically, I think if we can reclaim like 13K, I think we'll stay there because buyers were still loving it for the most part at 13,000. Big buyers too. Look at that volume, like relative to the norm, that's almost double on some of these days, which that's substantial. And even right here, it's 90, around 9,600, around 10K. We're at about double, right? So like what I think the market's going to try to do is price in that support at 11K and stay there. I don't really think that it's going to go under there. I just really have to see this right here. And everybody's looking for that sharp short-term resistance, but I think this is the last time we had substantial volume and we drew this resistance over and we seem to abide by it as support and then again resistance right here. But most importantly, guys, something to look at that most people won't pick up on, but you're here, so that's why you're going to be just fine. Is that's when we sold off. Like everybody else, when they're going through and they're trying to like show you like there's resistance on the chart, they just draw the most recent line they can, and that's stupid because it doesn't tell you the whole story. I care about volume and I care about strength. I want to know where that volume and strength really came in because that's going to give me a better indication of what I can expect when it comes to price. So I think that this right here is going to our clearest indication of whether or not we're going bullish. This is how I know we're not yet because we didn't even test it right here. We didn't even have the strength to test it. So we're going to test it here, and I think we're going to see 13K touch. And then realistically, if we don't hold, I think we're definitely going to come back down. And I would say that you pretty much nailed it. I would say down to 10.2. Yeah. I don't see anything else. I mean, if it holds at 10.5, maybe. But more than likely, I think it's going to crater. And if it craters, then we're in a bad spot. We also, I believe, have this long-term resistance boy right here that we're like really rubbing up against right now. So I'm just really interested to see how this plays out because we're in our we're in the upper half of this overall zone, but we're in the very bottom percentile of the new zone, which I don't like. So we're basically teetering on the edge at this point. So keep a close eye on it, and that's your tech rundown. I'd say that's at least my thoughts on it. But yeah, that'll about wrap it up, guys. If you're not in there already, make sure you get in the Discord. The link's been scrolling across the bottom the whole time. If you're ready to go, get in there right now. Don't buy shit. I don't want you to buy shit. I want you to make some free money. I want you to take advantage of all the free resources, make some money, gain some trust, and then we'll talk about that. For those of you that are already in, you already know the deal. We're going to make some good money this week, baby. Make sure you got those mapped out. You got any questions, shoot them over in my DMs. I love y'all. Stay blessed now.